I know the date because I can look at the little corner of my computer screen. So, did a pretty fired up stream from the car, and back home, set up the little table here, and I'm ready to do a little bit of a deep dive into this controversy. So, a couple of days ago, Matt Binder got on TV. Well, I call it TV. He got on Twitch. He got on Twitch TV, and he did a stream. And I just caught the end of it. So I caught the end of the stream, and all I heard was him basically without any substantive critique, just talking negatively about Jimmy Dore and about the gray zone. So I responded to him on Twitter, and I deleted the comment. I shouldn't have fucking deleted it. He actually responded back to me, and I just said, "Hey, I heard, nothing but Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore bad, gray zone bad, gray zone bad." And he said, "Oh no, I was talking about gray zones, not the gray zone." But he's against the gray zone. He's against Jimmy Dore, and now they're all against the Fred Hampton leftists. And the stream I did from the car, and I'll just repeat some of the stuff that I said because a lot of this, I believe, is just about competition. They're trying to protect their place in the progressive media sphere. And for a lot of people, this place is very profitable. If you ever listen to TYT, you'd hear Cenk Uygur basically sounds like one of those preachers on TV late at night begging for donations. And it's very frustrating. It's very annoying. I've said this on other streams before, but when Bernie was running, I would listen to them, and my wife would refuse to listen to any stream with Cenk Uygur on just because she was so annoyed by his approach. I stopped listening to them completely. And every once in a while tune in, and every once in a while see a controversy like this. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump right in and we'll just start breaking this down. So, this is Matt Binder from a couple of days ago, critiquing the Fred Hampton leftists and Jimmy Dore um, for talking about Nina Turner and why she lost. Now, I was going to start this with, and I don't want to get, I'm trying to like stay away from too much spirituality type stuff because I know, those verses from the Bible, they talk about the wide road, the narrow road, and they're talking about Christianity. So it doesn't quite fit, but the concept still fits. So, in the world, any sphere of, industry or commentary, anywhere you go, even in your own personal life, there's a lot of different roads that you can travel. So, you can travel a wide road that's paved and very easy to walk down. And that requires you to just go with the flow, go along to get along. And then there is a narrow path. There is a narrow path, and few people in history have walked it. People like Martin Luther King Jr., people like Malcolm X, people like Fred Hampton. They walked this narrow path to fight for civil rights, to fight for the rights of their people, and ultimately they met at the end, they met a bullet. And that's what the establishment does when you challenge them, when you really challenge them in an effective way. They push back with great tenacity. And in the past, at least, a lot of these great leaders, they were willing to sacrifice even their very lives for their cause. Now, this is a very, very different from what you see from organizations like TYT, from organizations like the Majority Report. And for a long time, and they still are grasping and trying to hold on to their ability to be the gatekeepers of information. They want to push out all the competition in the progressive media sphere, and they want to carry you along that wide road, that easy road, where you don't criticize any of the politicians that you like, and you just go along to get along in order to keep living a comfortable life. The reality is, we're going to have to make sacrifices if we want to see real change in our society. You can't just sit comfortably at home and expect the leaders that are in the government to actually do something to change your life for the better. From time to time, they may throw you crumbs, but we're living in a great age, and I think we're actually at a crossroads. We're starting to see a split in this progressive media space and also a split away from the two major ruling parties. This is not going to be easy, and we're going to fall, and we're going to have to pick ourselves back up. We're going to try different strategies and we're going to fail. And we're going to have to be honest with ourselves and analyze these things. A lot of people put a lot of time and energy into the Justice Democrats. A lot of people put a lot of time and energy into these campaigns for these progressive, quote unquote, progressive leaders that we have in Congress. But when they fail us and they show themselves to be ineffective, our job as activists, our job as their constituents, our job as just people who are on the left, if we want to fight for the policies that they claim they would fight for, if we want to disrupt the two major parties and their stranglehold on our society, we are going to have to step onto that rocky, narrow road. And that is a big part of why I'm here. I am here to raise my hand and say, in the classroom, I stand with you. I stand with the people who are going to tell me the uncomfortable truths. I stand with the people who are going to get out on the street and organize actions. I stand with the people who are going to try new ideas and try to unify people to actually get the change that we want to see. And I stand vehemently against the people that want us to comfortably sit and sleep and wait for change to happen without doing anything to accomplish it. So, without further ado, here we have Matt Binder. If he sees this, he'll probably be fucking pissed. But you did the stream, buddy. So let's hear what you have to say.
While we wait for people to call, let me cue this one up. Nope, don't want the Bill Gates one again. That's for sure. Oh right, I just saw this before. I gotta play this. This is ridiculous. I can't believe we're still having this discussion. I can't believe this is still a thing. I can't believe this is still a thing. Like I can't believe this is what people are talking about. And I guess this did this happen recently? I should check this out first actually.
I can't believe that this is happening. He's trying desperately to sound like Sam Cedar. Go ahead, Matt. Talk.
I saw this just now.
Hello from
Wouldn't
Turkeys.
surprise me if this
How's it
is
going?
still going around. Oh my god, it just happened, didn't it?
Come on, Matt. You can get it out.
Is this really something that just happened?
They can't believe. They can't believe that the great power of the organization of TYT and Sam Cedar with their NBC contracts. They can't believe that these little shitheads are still trying to pressure our beloved politicians. I cannot believe that we haven't stomped them out yet. We're not going anywhere, Matt.
All right, I don't want to play it if I'm wrong then.
He's going to play it.
Does anybody know if this was on a recent episode of Jimmy Dore? The Nina Turner thing? This is.
I wonder if right now he's looking for a way to
Yeah, I
cut the
think it just
clip,
happened.
if he's
All
looking
right,
for the
I'll
piece
play
to
it.
take
I'll
out of
play it.
context.
I can't believe you would still talk about this, quite frankly. I mean, this is. I don't know what's going on in that show.
What he's saying, he can't believe. We're talking Philosophy King. We're talking about the gatekeeper progressive organizations, the pundits that are desperately trying to fight for ground. They're losing subscribers to Jimmy Dore and the Fred Hampton Leftists, and they're very frustrated with this. And they also, their beloved politicians, who they see as above reproach, they think that we don't have a right to criticize how they run their campaigns. So someone like Nina Turner, who we loved, Nina Turner was the best. Hello, somebody. I got fired up. She's so good on that stage up there with Bernie. Oh my God, it's so much hope for her. But no one is infallible and no one is untouchable. And if you step into the political arena, you put yourself up to extreme criticism. And that is only right. It is only right because you are claiming to be a public servant. So if you're running to serve us and we put our money and our sweat and our knocking on doors for you and talking to strangers for you and making phone calls for you, you better be goddamn sure that if you start to water down your message and you don't do what you fucking said you're going to do, you open yourself up to rebuke. And these people, like Matt Binder, they want to stand in the way of any criticism of the only politicians that we have even a little tiny, tiny, slim chance of reaching. And the only way we're going to change our mind is with pressure. Power cedes nothing without a demand. It cedes absolutely nothing without a demand. Philosophy King says in Turkey, our beloved Mr. President Erdogan, is it Erdogan? Is building a new canal in Istanbul to Black Sea for taking control from Jew control Bosphorus Canal. I'm assuming that English isn't your first language. I'm very sorry. I wish I could like fully understand what you're trying to say. And I'm more than happy to cover that actually if you're interested in me doing some research and looking into it. These things are not unique to the United States. And here in the United States, I think this is a crucial point because a lot of other parts of the world, you can't do something like I'm doing right now without facing some serious retribution. And even in our country, and it's becoming more and more of a fascistic and oligarchical state, these types of resistance actions will become more and more dangerous. Now, there is the resistance, and there is the resistance, if you understand what I mean. I'm going to go back to Matt, and thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. And I don't want to get sidetracked too much because uh, this is something that I really have been dying to get on here and cover. But thank you so much for being part of the stream.
Where this is still the hot topic conversation. But apparently, Jimmy
Apparently.
Dore is still talking up Nina Turner's loss in her Ohio District 11, I believe it was, election.
How how dare you? How dare you? How dare you criticize a politician?
Back in, what was it? Was it early August? I think so, right? Um, just this is he had on this guy who goes by Socialist MMA on Twitter. He's another one of those Dore-esque People's Party types. The same type of politics that like the Convo Couch, those two people I had a debate with a couple of weeks back. Um, that sort of like anti the squad. I'm further left than you type. Uh,
So this is a complete mischaracterization of everything that Jimmy Dore and the Fred Hampton Leftists and the Movement for a People's Party stand for and what they do. The problem with these little spats is that you do not see substance from one side. And the side that you do not see substance from is the side that comes across as the intellectual. So people like Matt Binder, they try to come across as the intellectual. They try to come across as the grown up in the room. And because people like Jimmy Dore and the Fred Hampton Leftists, they're a little bit more rough around the edges. They feel like that they can dismiss them, and they feel like they can brush them aside. The problem is the people that actually affect true and lasting change in our society are the people that are willing to get out and fight. Now, I'm going to switch from Matt, and he's going to get into the critique, or the very, very weak and short critique of the Fred Hampton leftists. But I'm going to play this for you. This is the Fred Hampton leftists, and this is who they are, and this is what they're about to do. And I think this is the clip where there is a very, very good quote that I'm going to borrow and I'm going to use. But let me go ahead and play this, because let's give you some context. He's talking about these people as if they are just contrarians, as if they don't have any real ideas to enact change, as if they are just there to shit on politicians. They are giving substantive rebukes. And it would be nice if these politicians would actually listen to them, because this is their base. These are the massive people that are going to go out there and fight. These are the people whose voices are going to reach the actual real working class. Matt Binder and Majority Report, their voices do not reach the streets. They don't reach the people that are actually out there struggling in the world. Jimmy Dore and the Fred Hampton leftists, their voices are going to reach, and they are attacking politicians or critiquing politicians substantively. They're not just going, "Oh, I can't believe that he's doing this. Oh my god, I can't believe that he's doing this. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe they're still talking about this. How can they still be talking about this?" This is fucking huge. We have to analyze, why did Bernie Sanders lose? Brianna Joy Gray, she did a very, very good series of episodes with one of the other members of the Bernie Sanders campaign, and they did an autopsy. But the mainstream media, and also these types of progressive gatekeeper media folks, what they're doing is they're trying to push out any dissenting voices, and they're trying to brush them off as if they're uncouth and they're just these unwashed masses, and they don't deserve to have a voice in the room, and they don't deserve to have a say. Nick Cruz went out and started knocking on doors for Bernie Sanders. He was out there on the ground every day knocking on people's doors to get Bernie Sanders elected. These are people that fought for Nina Turner. These are people that fought for Bernie Sanders. Um, God damn it! My doorbell just rang. I'm gonna be right back. Oh my god. uh, we had a bed frame delivered. Just married life. Got to go downstairs and you gotta carry the fucking package in. Okay. The Fred Hampton Leftists. Without further ado, the people that Matt Binder wants to dismiss arrogantly. No. Who is not? Oh, no, that was a bed frame being delivered. We bought a mattress a couple of months ago, and we scrapped together money for a bed frame. All right.
So imagine if we actually had a leftist that had a conversation and explained to him how much money we spent on healthcare, how much money Medicare for all was saved, how many lives it would save, and then ask them if they would support that. And I know from experience, I know it's anecdotal, but I'm talking about experience. I talked to a lot of conservatives that doubt for universal healthcare, and that's not reflected in the polling, despite the fact that the polling is good. And remember, and the last thing I'll pass right back to the panel, do you guys remember during the Bernie campaign when progressives used to brag about how many Republicans supported Medicare for all? Mm-hmm. We went from bragging about the fact that, oh, our policies are popular on both sides, and now if you want to work with those Republicans on Medicare for all, they say, oh, you Red Brown Alliance.
That's a really good point. So I remember how everybody was during the Bernie campaign. A lot of people have forgotten, or you know what, they intentionally forget. And you know why TYT and the Majority Report, you know why they smear the Fred Hampton Leftists and Jimmy Dore when they try to bring in as many people as they can to unite around issues that will help a majority of our society. It's because they, just like their parent company, MSNBC, have a vested interest in doing content that people watch to drum up hatred for the other side. So let's see. What kind of content is the... I will go to the Jimmy Dore show, but first we'll look at the Young Turks. What kind of content are the Young Turks producing? Mike Lindell. I said in my last stream, and I'll say it again. Don't you guys know that Trump is not president anymore? Who does this benefit? This only benefits people who just want to feel good about themselves. These are easy targets. Everybody knows this shit. Everybody knows Mike Lindell is fucking crazy. There are no Republicans watching TYT. There is no one watching TYT that does not agree with everything that they're saying. They're not reaching anyone and convincing them not to listen to Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. This is clickbait content to make money. And these are the most recent videos from TYT. Michael Lindell, Rudy Giuliani, Trump, Marjorie Greene, and on and on and on and on and on. Arizona's pro-MAGA audit. People eat this shit up and they love it, but compare that to what the Fred Hampton leftists are trying to do, and tell me who is actually fighting for something positive in society. Tell me who has the ideas that are going to win out and produce change at the end of the day. Shitting on easy Republican targets, or trying to do something like this, organize a general strike and create mutual aid organizations so that working people are able to leave their jobs, strike, and be compensated for that. For us to pool our money together and help those people so that we can make a statement in our society and force change. Power seeds nothing without a demand.
You Nazi enabler.
I thought we supposed to be. I thought that was a good thing. You know what I mean? I thought the point was that we supposed to win over Republicans and rednecks for Medicare for all. Now we Red Brown for flowing the idea that these people are going to help us get it.
Nick, why do you love Nazi? Look at JB. JB, I love you.
That's the JB lean. We call that the JB lean.
Yeah, JB get me fired up.
When a point is being made, that's what he does. That's the JB lean.
Bro, JB get me fired up when you do that. I'm like, man, let's go.
But go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, finish your point, sir.
That pretty much it. I mean, I was bringing up the fact because I went back to what Missy said because she's surrounded by Trump supporters, and Kansas City is actually really blue. But we all shit live blue, right. And then we neighbor Kansas, and Kansas is extremely right wing. If you go like 5 miles out of Kansas City, you in like fucking KKK. There was KKK.
A lot of people in this country, they've recognized that that's the mentality that people are at in this country.
In this live stream. So we'll start with JB and then we'll go to Misty.
Okay. Thanks for having me here. Thanks to everybody for being with us. I also want to give a shout out to Rob Durden. He's in the chat. I interviewed him on
JB, I need my initials back, man.
Sunday, and we had a great conversation. And also, he also has a great channel on YouTube as well. And look, if you're on the fence about a general strike, ask yourself this question: what other alternative is better? And if you have a better alternative, please let us know. But for now, if you don't have a better alternative, this is what we got. Because it's either this or it's going to be a violent revolution. Which one would you rather have? I'd rather have a general strike first to see where it goes. A lot of people rather, are because it's kind of like people are kind of hesitant because they kind of feel like, oh, it's not going to work, but it's like it's only not going to work if you don't participate. It's just like with the Green Party. People downplay the Green. That's one of the reasons why. So I think one of the things that we need to do is, number one, if we can't come up with a better idea, let's get into this one, because it leads to our detriment to stay in the same situation that we've been up teen years. Coming up this Sunday, I'll be doing a full on a Q&A. I'll be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time network.
Absolutely. Thank you, JB.
I couldn't find it. I'm gonna try and find it. He gave an example of what we need, just the type of person that we need, and I really like it. I'm gonna have to write it down. I have to, but just for the sake of the stream, I'm gonna keep things moving. So let's go ahead and move back to Matt Binder. And the whole purpose of doing this video was him. The whole reason I started doing any streams was actually looking at the All American Socialist and some bullshit that he said too. So thank you guys, thank you Matt, thank you All American Socialist, thank you for being so mediocre and so lazy and so shilly and inspiring me to stand up and throw my hat into the ring. All right, Matt, let's hear what you got to say.
Ridiculousness, but here they are talking about Nina Turner's loss to Chantel Brown, who was the centrist in the race, and obviously Nina Turner was running a progressive campaign as the left-wing candidate. And I mean, let's just play it. Let's just play it, because I don't even. This is just. I saw this making the rounds, and I had to give it a listen.
Do you hear anything from him? He gave no substance at all. He said, I don't know. Let's just play it. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe they're doing this. Oh my God, it's so stupid. Why are they still talking about this? I can't play it. He didn't say, this is why I think that it's wrong. He gave no substance whatsoever. He just mumbling a bunch of words. Maybe he'll give some substance later. Let's some substance later. Let's see how he does.
And here we go.
How could you be running as a progressive for Congress in the middle of a pandemic and not show up to a Medicare for All march?
Oh my God.
And then you're surprised you lost? You're surprised more people didn't show up for you? The most popular policy in the country is Medicare for All. You don't show up for a Medicare for All march, and you expect people who have a revolutionary spirit to vote for you, to get off their ass to vote, and then you lose and you don't know why?
Well, I mean, this is just. I mean, I went through this. I did videos on this.
So I think that's all he shows of the clip. I think that's it. So he doesn't give any context. And this is one reason why. One reason why they critiqued Nina Turner and gave an example of why she lost. And I fully agree. Not that it was only her not attending a Medicare for All march that the People's Party organized. And a lot of these politicians do not like the People's Party now, even though Nina Turner was one of the speakers. So, why would Nina Turner not attend the Movement for a People's Party march? Let's go to the Movement for a People's Party website. So, on August 30th, there was a Movement for a People's Party convention. And who spoke? Cornel West, Nina Turner, Marianne Williamson, Jimmy Dore, Danny Glover, Senator Mike Gravel, and Brian Knight. All people that are coming from a place where they wanted what Bernie had to offer. All of these people want real progressive change in our society. I believe that to a certain extent. I don't personally know any of these people. But who's right there, dead center in the middle? Nina Turner. So there is a very substantive critique of her campaign, and Matt Binder is acting like he's acting like they just brought this up because they want to trash Nina Turner. He plays a clip out of context, and he sneers at it, and that's all he does. So he's acting as if that's the only thing that they said. So let's see what they actually said. And this was not a planned part of the show. This was in response to a question by a viewer.
Becky 1980. Thank you, Becky. Becky, you're back. Please talk about Nina Turner joining TYT.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say?
Back to
Let
Jimmy.
me ask. Let's ask Nick. Nick, somebody wants to know in the chat. Talk about Nina Turner joining TYT. I feel the same way about if she joined MSNBC or CNN.
My friend Unapologetic, he wrote a brilliant op-ed, and the progressive movement lost their shit at him because he was pointing to all the warning signs that Nina Turner was giving us. And this is why you're seeing the enthusiasm for the base drop significantly. And I still believe this is why Nina Turner lost. She lost because the squad disappointed her base. So the base wasn't able to donate. They didn't canvass because they didn't care anymore because they know the squad was going to capitulate to the Democratic Party. But you had Nina Turner like butting up to DNC insiders, hiring Jeff Weaver. She refused to attend the Medicare for All march. So there was a lot of signs that she was going to shift to the right because Nina Turner, she made her brand off of being unapologetically calling out the establishment, which was always a brand.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot play both sides. You can't have it both ways. Bernie, Nina, AOC. You can't have it both ways. You can't go out there and, like Nick said, unapologetically be anti establishment and cozy up to the establishment at the same time. The people that support you because you are fighting the establishment. There's no better way to say it. And if you, in turn, say, well, I have to compromise a little bit, we have to change our revolution to be a more pragmatic organization because we're not getting any movement, we're not seeing any change. They built this gigantic machine of momentum. And then once Bernie lost, they just said, hey, well, we're just going to trash the Republicans. It's nice and easy. We're not going to criticize any of the people that we got into office, even when they fail us. And we're going to try and have it both ways because that's easier. That's more comfortable. We have plenty of people. Everybody watches TYT. Everybody watches Majority Report. Those are our buddies. We're going to be with them. We're not going to go and support a revolutionary organization. We're not going to support a third party organization growth. We are going to stick with the DNC. The problem is the DNC is corrupted and it is irredeemable. These are the top contributions to the DNC. You have the Senate Leadership Fund, Bloomberg, LP, Las Vegas Sands Casino, I guess, Clinic for Drug Abuse and Treatment Research, that's great. Fund for Policy Reform, I don't know anything about that. FAR LLC, a big organization, Uline Inc., and then Citadel. Citadel LLC. Now, WikiLeaks revealed that Citadel gave, or no, it was Citigroup, sorry, let me shut up. Citadel LLC, and then we keep going down, and there's Blackstone. Blackstone, the company that is spending billions of dollars to buy up homes, jack up the house prices, and make permanent rental properties. These are the people that tell the DNC what to do. Alphabet Inc., one of the largest recipients of defense contracting money, they own Google. They own a lot of things. Bain Capital, Microsoft Corp, Walt Disney. The DNC is in bed with all of the monopolistic and large corporations in our society, and they are completely irredeemable. And you cannot mobilize people who are sick of all the bullshit that these organizations that fund the DNC, which is entirely corrupt, and they want something different. You cannot say, well, I'm going to play both sides. I'm going to be friends with the DNC, and then I'm also going to expect these revolutionary young people to go out there and fight for me. That is the substantive rebuke that Jimmy Dore and Nick Cruz are making of Nina Turner's campaign. They hired Jeff Weaver, a DNC insider, to run their campaign, a man that had lost. Well, let them say it, because I don't want to just repeat the words that come out of their mouth. Let me give them credit for what they've said.
But once again, Unapologetic did an amazing op-ed that highlights all the shady stuff that was going on with Nina Turner, and this is what killed enthusiasm. So it's not surprising, it's disappointing, but it honestly not surprising because anyone who's been paying attention to Nina, they see how her rhetoric.
People to get fired up over policy discussions and sitting there for 2 hours discussing the inner workings of politics in DC. We don't want that system anymore. We're going to have to fight through it at some point if we succeed in doing anything inside of the electoral system, but we need to bring new people in. We can't go in there and just do things the way they've always been done. We have to go in there as an invasive force. We have to insulate ourselves away from all of those corrupting influences, all those DC insiders that get recycled through every system. If you want to look back, I did a video called the Worm Tongue Class. And it's all about Obama. And it's all about the people that corrupted his campaign. There was a man named Christopher Edley who wanted to start an organization that would mobilize all of Obama's support, all of his grassroots support, and give them a voice inside the campaign. But the DNC does not want regular working people to have a voice in policy. They make deals in back rooms, smoking cigars, drinking wine with the leaders of industry who fund their campaigns, and that is how they do things. And if anyone tries to operate outside of that system, they will do everything they can to try and destroy them. And TYT and Majority Report, they're more than happy to defend the people that pretend to get in there to disrupt the system, but actually try to have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't get our support if you're going to go play the corporate game. If you're going to go in there and play the old, the DC swamp game, you're not going to get our support. You're not going to get people like Nick Cruz out there every day knocking on doors for you, making phone calls for you. And TYT and Majority Report, instead of seeing Jimmy Dore and Fred Hampton Leftists and saying their critiques about us, we're going to address them on a substantive level. We're going to stop being so arrogant and so smug. We're going to look at our own mistakes and admit them. And all of those things are very, very, very fucking hard to do. They require a lot of maturity. So these are supposed to be the adults in the room, but they're not showing us any maturity. because all they're doing is acting like little children, stomping their feet and saying, no, 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 you can't criticize these people. No, no, no. If you get viewers, then we're going to lose our subscribers. And they are. They are losing subscribers. And their response to that is not to analyze what they've done wrong, it's to attack without substance and smear the people that are taking viewership away from them. It's the same tactics that the Democratic National Committee uses. And it's not surprising because they are owned by NBC. So let's go back to Nick Cruz.
Shifted, like it shifted significantly. Once again, she used to go after the Democratic Party establishment. Now she was like pushing bullshit. Like she would always like tweet about Trump. Like she was only attacking Republicans. Like, bro, you running against a Democrat. What are you doing?
Right. Why didn't she attack Chantel Brown? Because she wanted to have it both ways. And let's go back to this. So Jimmy Dore show, he's talking about Hunter Biden's corruption. It's a very, very touchy subject. He's willing to go out on that limb. He's talking about Epstein. I think Matt Binder talked about it. Bill Gates, but that's easy. Hillary's lawyer indicted for lying. The whole Russiagate bullshit conspiracy that was pushed and pushed and pushed and still is being pushed, even though it's complete fucking garbage. Border Patrol whipping refugees. CNN trying to smear marijuana. I did a stream about the criminal justice system. We're going to keep doing that. We have prison lobbies, and now they are all in bed together. The CNN is going to support the company line. The prison lobbies, they say that they're against marijuana because they will lose beds in their private prison industry. How fucked up is that? How fucked up is that they want to lock up weed smokers who are some of the most peaceful people in society? 100% the most peaceful fucking people in society. You know what? Just for sake of levity, just to break this up, let's go to one of my favorite comedians, Bill Hicks. Everybody steals from Bill Hicks. Every fucking comedian steals from Bill Hicks. I've listened to every single one of his comedy specials over and over again. Everybody steals from him. If you learn him, you're gonna hear him in almost everything. I even heard like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They took one of his lines. They might not even know it.
Pot is a better drug than alcohol. Fact. Stop your internal dialogue. But Bill, alcohol's shut up. You're wrong. Get over it. Okay? I'll prove it to you, man. You're at a ball game or a concert and someone's really violent and aggressive and obnoxious. Are they drunk or are they smoking pot? Which is it? They're drunk. I have never seen people on pot get in a fight because it is fucking impossible. Hey, buddy. Hey, what? Hey. End of argument. Say you get in a car accident and you've been smoking pot. You're only going 4 fucking miles an hour. Shit, we hit something. We got rear-ended by a Domino's truck, man. Just a better world. I'm not promoting the use of drugs. I'm just telling you, I've had good times on them. That's the truth. I've also had bad times on them too, okay? But I've had good and bad relationships, and I'm not giving up pussy. Hi, I'm Bill, and I'm a pussyholic.
So that's Bill Hicks. And so CNN, they're smearing alcohol. So that's another thing that Jimmy's covering. So he's covering a variety of topics in a very substantive way. He has people from the gray zone on. They talk about this conspiracy in Syria. They're talking about subjects that are very difficult. And this is the rocky road. This is the narrow lane. This is the lane that if you step in, you're going to get a huge blowback from the establishment. But if you claim to be anti-establishment, these are the type of things that you should see on your YouTube channel. So what do we see on TYT? I got 2 of those up. Mike Lindell, Fox, Trump. Trump is out of office, you fucking idiots. Trump is no longer in office, guys. You cover him because it gets you ratings and it gets you views. So, all right, So Matt Binder, let's hear what he has to say in his critique of an out of context clip.
March for Medicare for All event that happened in July. That was put together by these Dore-esque types, the force the vote people. Again, I'm not anti political activism, on the ground activism. I actually told people where they could check out details for the march, and if it was something for them to definitely go down and check it out. I did not shit talk the march or the organizers. My issue with it was the people who were saying this type of stuff. The fact that going to this one specific event made it or basically made it or broke it.
So this is Matt Binder lying. And he probably knows that he's lying. This is Matt Binder lying through his teeth. Making this one specific issue. They're just saying that she lost because she didn't attend this one march, this little march. You guys are so insignificant. I said on my last stream I wasn't gonna make fun of his voice. I don't have a good I don't have a good impression down. I need to stop. Matt, they did not just say that it was because of her not attending a Medicare for All march. But why was she not at that Medicare for All march? That is a valid question. That is a 100% valid question. Why was this person, Nina Turner, who we know and love, a person that if we liked Bernie, you loved it when she got on the stage. She got you fired up. That momentum was huge. This person, why? Why did she not go? That is not the only reason that they critiqued Nina Turner and talked about why and did an autopsy of why she lost, which apparently, according to TYT and Majority Report and Matt Binder, we're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to analyze why they lost, learn from their mistakes, and then try to do something better because they follow the DNC pattern. That is the status quo. That is the whatever the fucking Latin term for status quo is. That is how they operate. They do not look back. They don't say, why are people disaffected by Obama? What did we do wrong and what should we change? Why are people disaffected with Hillary Clinton? What did we do wrong? Why should we change? They just demonize the other side, avoid any self-reflection, and they display no maturity because it requires maturity to do a self-analysis. They are not the adults in the room, even though they appear to be more refined. The people that are a little more rough around the edges are the ones that are more likely to tell you the truth. So what did Nick actually say?
And then they realized it was too late, and then they tried to backtrack and attack Chantel Brown. But at that point, it was already too late. So this is not surprising. All these boutique leftists, like professional left managerial class people, they care about their career more than anything. So back when Bernie was spearheading everything, it was safe to be like anti-establishment maverick. But once Bernie Sanders dropped out and he shifted to the right and became a Biden bro, it's much harder to be like the leader, like someone who actually pushing the country to the left. And a lot of people, so Nina Turner was one of the people who shifted a little bit to the right and softened her rhetoric. So that doesn't surprise me one bit to see her working for TYT because she's just trying to get the next check. That's what the grift is all about.
It's sad, it's sad, breaks my heart. And like I said in the last stream, and I'll say it again here, these are the people that we may still hope to be able to reach. But we can't listen to these gatekeepers who say you cannot criticize them. You can't tell them that they should have run their campaign differently. It's just not the way politics works. Power sees nothing without a demand. They're still really powerful people. They still have large followings. People still do listen to them. So there remains this gigantic question. Why are they not willing to listen to a rebuke? Is it pride? Is it arrogance? Is it just that they're so insulated by these gatekeepers that our voices just can't get through? I mean, you see that when TYT mass blocks everyone from the Fred Hampton Leftists. You see that they're not seeing them as another comrade in this fight. They're not seeing them as adding to the movement. They're not seeing them as a group of young people that are fired up, a group of young activists who went out and knocked on doors for Bernie Sanders, people that were willing to get on the ground. You know how hard it is to get people that work a regular job, regular working people who are going to be able to reach regular working people to get that regular working people vote. You know how hard it is to get them to actually go out and knock on strangers' doors and get kicked out of off of front porches and get yelled at, and then also just talk to people who have very different political ideologies from you and try to convince them that your way is better. That is not an easy task. So we have a person who did that, a person who wants to start a movement for some real positive change. And all people like this can do is snub them, sneer at them, and in a very condescending way, without any substance, try and mischaracterize their arguments and give them a rebuke that only comes across as condescending.
If you were a true leftist, which is ridiculous. There are direct actions on the ground, in the street, activism, events going on a regular basis. People cannot go to every single one. Missing one does not kill your left-wing bona fides. Yeah, because
The March for Medicare for All was organized across 50 states. It was a gigantic organization of people. And that's what we're supposed to all care about. That's what we're supposed to all fight for, right? That's the issue that most of us across all different party lines agree on. So, why are these gatekeeper organizations not supporting it, not promoting it, not amplifying it so that more people come out? Why are they excusing people that didn't at least take a look at it and come out and join it, even though they knew about it? They're doing that because these people are competition. They're doing that because Jimmy Dore and the Fred Hampton Leftists and Movement for a People's Party, they're doing that because they see them as competition to their bottom line. TYT is a company. They're an organization that raises funds and pays massive salaries. They are contracted through Peacock and into NBC, and so is Sam Cedar. And both Sam Cedar and Cenk Uygur both worked for MSNBC directly when they started their careers in political punditry. Fred Hampton Leftists is a group of young activists that are out there in the streets trying to make some real change. But people like Matt Binder, all he cares about is being Sam Cedar's best friend. All he cares about is being able to grow his presence on the Majority Report, which has something like, I don't know, maybe a few 100,000 more people than Jimmy Dore, but they're not being throttled because their content is not considered to be disruptive. They're walking that wide, easy road.
because these guys don't usually do these things, the March for Medicare for All became their Woodstock. Like, this is it. This is the one event.
So he's saying that these guys don't really do these things. Let me tell you something, Matt. Nick, I already went through him knocking on doors for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Jimmy Dore goes from state to state to state to state to present a progressive message to real audiences in real life in real time. And he also does a show that touches on controversial but very important topics all the time. You and your buddies only can shit on Republicans. That's all you do because you get more views and you get more clicks from that type of content. And it's not considered disruptive, so you don't fuck with the YouTube algorithm.
The same way your hippie parents in the 60s talk about Woodstock because they were weekend warriors who just went to these rock concerts, when it was like the one big event to go to, and weren't like the people going down to the basement shows and the bar shows and the church, the church basement shows and the thrown together punk shows every week, that I was going to back in my day. But no, there's like this.
He's making a joke of being arrogant, so I can't, I can't shit on him for that specific element. But what Matt Binder is doing here is giving a picture of who he is. So he's revealing himself. So who is Matt Binder? Apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but it sounds like he's very familiar, at least, with people who had hippie parents. People that probably grew up in the suburbs and had a nice, comfortable life, and their hippie parents talk about the 60s. These are the type of people that turned into shit liberals that watch NBC, that watch CNN and gobble that garbage down. So he is on what is supposed to be a revolutionary, progressive, disruptive show. That's kind of how they represent themselves, but they're not. They're not. They're just ineffective, boring people who want you to go to sleep, but they want you to watch their shows though. So they're gonna just lull you to sleep and not touch anything controversial. So Matt says, "Oh, I used to go to all these punk rock shows in the basement." I've met people like him. I know people like him. I probably was him at one point. I've been to those punk rock shows too, Matt. That doesn't mean anything in the context of this conversation. And you're talking to two people who have probably hit the street way more than you ever have and had way more of a positive impact than you have and have reached more diverse audiences and convinced them of a progressive convince them to view progressive ideas in a positive light. And they are trying to reach out to people that you can only shit on. And you won't stop shitting on right wing people and Republicans, even though some of them are reachable. And we have to reach them. That's half of the country. We have to take some of them onto our side. They are not all Nazis. But he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about that because he wants to get more money from his own shows and from being on the Majority Report. He's walking down that nice, comfortable, wide road. Oh, I used to go to punk rock shows.
The same shit. That's the same shit, basically. Like, that's a perfect analogy, quite frankly. Like, this is their one event because they don't usually do this shit for them. They don't usually do this shit. So for them, this was it.
Either he is not paying attention, or he is purposely misrepresenting the people in this situation. The Movement for a People's Party was part of two very recent actions after the March for Medicare for All. They were a part of Occupy Wall Street, or no, not Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Congress, which I got to after 4 people were arrested for using a bullhorn on Congress to fight for people being evicted, while the politicians that Matt Binder, Sam Cedar, and Cenk Uygur defend for access and to starve out the competition um, did not promote. They did not mention it. And they are only proposing a 60-day moratorium for rent. Again, that is not going to pass through Congress. And that's all they're proposing. So they start from a compromised position. This is not motivating us. We are not motivated by this. The people that came out, the young people that came out in droves for Bernie Sanders, were motivated by a fiery, progressive message. They were motivated by, we're going to go in and we're going to storm the gates and we're going to take over the establishment. They are not motivated by, oh, we have to be pragmatic. We have to be nice to them. We don't want to make them angry because they won't come on our show anymore. And how you guys are so insignificant. How can you criticize them? That's not going to get us anywhere. That doesn't get us fucking anywhere. That just keeps people comfortable sitting on their streets, on their couch. They're listening to this shit and they go, "Oh yeah, fuck them. They don't know what they're talking about. Nothing's gonna happen. They're not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna pay any attention to them because my gatekeeper pundits are telling me that they're bad. They're bad people."
So because Nina Turner didn't go to the Ohio March for Medicare for All,
It was in 50
and
states.
instead on that day did an event with AOC, a campaign event for her campaign with AOC, they think that this is what tanked her campaign because she didn't show that she was a true Medicare for All supporter because she didn't go to this March for Medicare for All event in Ohio. They never point out that the Ohio March for Medicare for All event did not take place in Nina Turner's district. She would have had to have driven 2+ hours, if I recall, outside of her district to attend the Ohio.
I live in Pennsylvania. I work a full-time job. I am not a politician. I drove 2+ hours to go to Occupy Congress because I believe in that cause. He is excusing Nina Turner for not attending a March for Medicare for All because she had to drive 2+ hours to get there. We need leaders that are going to step up and stand for us. Now, I talked earlier about you have Martin Luther King Jr., you have Malcolm X, you have Fred Hampton. All of them met a bullet. Do you think they would have driven 2 or 5 or 6 hours to support the cause that they stood for? Of course they would. The people who marched for civil rights in the 60s, they withstood fire hoses from police. They were beaten in the streets, and they still got up and they still stood back up and they still fought for what they believed in. And people rallied around them, and the system changed. It's still a lot more work to do, but they got somewhere. And you got hippies, you have Fred Hampton uniting people and saying, listen, as long as you are not a racist, we don't care what color your skin is. If you stand for our cause and you're going to fight for us, we're going to accept you into our ranks. That is what the Fred Hampton leftists are trying to revive. The movements that actually worked. What movements are you supporting that actually worked? You're just supporting us sitting on our hands and doing nothing. Momentum is important. Bernie Sanders created a wave of momentum. We saw the Black Lives Matter marches in the streets all summer. There were people mobilized and energized to fight for change in our system. And now that momentum goes down, down, down. And the last little spark, the last chance to keep that fire burning, was forced to vote. Because Nancy Pelosi stands in the way of any positive progressive change in this country. The squad was supposed to go there
March
to
for Medicare
protest
for All
her.
event.
The squad, AOC, she started her campaign by protesting at Nancy Pelosi's office. So, what is the state of affairs now? I gotta go use the bathroom. This was a vote. This was a vote for $1 billion being spent. $1 billion being spent to give the Iron Dome, which is a missile system that kills Palestinians, to support that system with $1 billion. The first agenda item for Congress when they reconvened. Meanwhile, AOC and Cori Bush both got up in front of Congress and held a performative action that got a 60-day moratorium from Joe Biden in an executive order that they knew, or they should have known, that the Supreme Court was going to strike down, and they did. They're not addressing any of the loopholes in the original allocated funding. And what they're proposing looks good on a headline in a newspaper, but when you actually read the bill, even if it passes, it only gives you another 60-day moratorium. In over a year, less than 10% of the $46 billion or $47 billion that was allocated through the CARES Act to help people who struggled during COVID to pay their rent has been handed out. Because I did a video on this. If you want to go back and look at it, you can see all of the details. So this is Nancy Pelosi screaming at AOC and flapping her arms around and yelling because AOC voted against this missile dome bill to give $1 billion to Israel. Ro Khanna voted for this bill too. Now, Ro Khanna is somebody that you kind of think might be on your side sometimes, but one of his best stances is usually foreign affairs. And Ro Khanna voted to give Israel $1 billion. This is the first thing that Congress does. You don't think there's something wrong with our system? You think we should be supporting these people? AOC is supposed to be a fighter. Why is she letting Nancy Pelosi push her around? So that forced the vote was to challenge Nancy Pelosi's authority, and they had the ability and the votes to do it. And they should have done it on principle. Right is right. They should be doing what's right no matter what. We didn't send them in there to play a political game, just like all the other political operatives. Who voted against it? Thunga RIP says, let me take a look because it passed by very slim margins. You see it right here. I know Ro Khanna voted against it. And this is a video of Nancy Pelosi screaming at AOC, who voted no. And then here she is changing her vote to present.
The yeas are 420. The nays are 9, with 2 recorded as present. 2/3 being
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
The rules are suspended. The bill is passed.
Sorry about that. Way too much optimism. Yeah, massive support, massively passed, which is no surprise. So let's see who voted against Iron Dome. So Cory Bush, Andre Carson, Jesus Garcia, Raul Gurvala. Let's see, Marie Newman of Illinois, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, and then Thomas Massie, the one Republican that voted against it. 2 present votes, AOC and Henry Johnson of Georgia, both Democrats. So the argument against forced vote was that it was not going to be effective. And I've been talking a lot in this stream about momentum. She should have voted against it, that's true. And I'm glad that Cory Bush and Ayanna Pressley voted against it. And, I've been saying this whole time, I mean, these gatekeeper media people, they're trying to act like when we critique someone like AOC for doing something like this, that we're just shitting on them because we like it, because we don't like them. No, we're the people that fought for them. We were their biggest champions. And it's the biggest hurt when someone that you feel like you're close to, you feel like is on your side, when you put your blood and sweat and tears into their power, you propel them to power by the force of your vote and by the mobilization of your actions and by calling and knocking on doors, which is something Nick Cruz did. And also Jimmy Dore. He had AOC on his show. I think he was one of the first people to have Cory Bush on his show. We supported them with all of our hearts. And when they turn around and they do something like this, or when they have a chance to challenge Nancy Pelosi's power and they don't do it, what they do is they just pour water on the fire of our movement. It doesn't matter if this vote was going to pass massively. They need to show us where they stand. And if they show us that they stand more with the Democratic National Committee and Nancy Pelosi than they do with the activists on the street who absolutely do not want more money spent on war. We don't want to give Israel more money to blow up Palestinians. So, I addressed that a lot on the last stream. But it's a goddamn shame, and it's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking to see someone like Nina Turner lose, and then not to be able to criticize how she ran her campaign. See, we get fired up for them fighting for us. We don't get fired up from them saying, "Oh, you're going to be disappointed in me. I'm going to play both sides." So, um, Matt Binder.
I think it was like 10 days before the election day for her race was. Just ludicrous. Ludicrous. Oh, Marla points out Nina is working.
So we see this with yeah, Democrat. Everyone's afraid of doing something against Israel. It's so strange. Um, right, white supremacist state. Thank you, Thunga. And they're an apartheid state, and they have the Palestinians in an open air prison, and they keep stealing their land. We're seeing rich people from New York City move into Palestinian homes in Israel. That is disgusting. There's no excuse for that. No excuse at all. The pain that the Jewish people suffered in the past does not give them a free card to go and inflict that type of suffering on another group of people. It's completely inexcusable. So he's saying that Jimmy Dore and the People's Party and Nick Cruz, they were all just against Nina Turner. That's not true. They were actually fighting for her to win. We all wanted her to win. um, right. Well, let's see what they were actually saying.
Nina Turner has filed to run for Congress. Just in, Nina Turner, People's Party person in there. By the way, People's Party tweeted this out. Just in, Nina Turner has filed to run for Congress. The People's Party isn't on the ballot yet, but we can't think of anyone better to win that seat and bring a friend of the People's Party to Congress. The People's Party were supporting fucking Nina Turner.
The only reason that people like Matt Binder and TYT and Majority Report do not like Jimmy Dore, Fred Hampton Leftists, and organizations like that, and people that are on, walking in that difficult lane of telling the truth, and actually doing autopsies of these things and not just pointing the finger at the other side. They're taking a principled stance, and they're taking a lot of heat from doing that. And they are still fighting for progressive leaders. The People's Party wanted Nina Turner to win. So take a look at this. This is the People's Party website. Who was the centerpiece of the People's Convention, August 30th? Nina Turner.
At TYT now, which is probably why she's back on Jimmy Dore's radar. Of course, right.
So
Makes sense.
I played it a little bit earlier, and I'm going to leave the stream up, of course, like all the other streams. What actually happened on Jimmy Dore's show is a listener posted a comment and asked about what happened when TYT hired Nina Turner and what he thinks about it. Jimmy Dore shrugged off the question, and he asked Nick about it, and Nick gave a very substantive critique of what happened. And Matt Binder played a 2-second clip that sounds like they're saying the only reason that she lost was because she didn't attend the Medicare for All March, which is not true. There was much more of a substantive critique of Nina Turner's campaign than just her not attending that one action.
Nina Turner did not lose because she didn't go to the March for Medicare for All event.
Nobody's saying that.
Full stop. Anyone making this assessment is a joke. You should not take them seriously.
That is the craziest thing. In the middle of a pandemic, you're not going to show up to a Medicare for All march? The most popular policy in the country. And
I mean, listen, they're also still holding on to these old polls from the primary, all of which were taken in like the first or second quarter of 2020. This is like old. Is Medicare for All popular according to those polls? Yes, it is. Unfortunately, things don't always seem to work out that way, right? I mean, ending the wars was also very popular for quite a while.
So he's trying to pretend like now, all of a sudden, for some reason, Medicare for all is not popular. Let me tell you something, Matt. The people who didn't have health insurance then don't have health insurance now. The people that paid massive premiums for their medical coverage don't have fucking medical coverage now. What do you think? All of a sudden, the support for Medicare for all just went away? Is that what you're trying to say? You're trying to say that we shouldn't fight for it? What the fuck is this? They just want you to go to sleep. They just want you to, click on their clickbait sections about Trump, and they're gonna ride that horse until it fucking dies. They're gonna be talking about Trump 10 years after he dies, and they're still going to be getting viewers for it. And those viewers are not going to get out on the street, and they're not going to mobilize. So put that up against what people in the Fred Hampton Leftists are doing. Fred Hampton Leftist, he's smearing these people, and he's taking these little clips out of context. So what is Nick Cruz talking about? What are they trying to do?
They talk about how the Democratic Party and neoliberal policies hurt the African American community, but they have a really hard time communicating it in a proper way. So there's always been a giant lane in independent media, and my goal was simply just to fill it, because it's my belief that everyone have a lot of great things to offer in this political discussion. You don't have to have a PhD, you don't have to be a professor.
So thanks in part to Jimmy Dore, and thanks in part to the Fred Hampton Leftists, I'm doing this. And for whatever it's worth, even if I can reach one person, it got me involved. And I'm just a regular working class person. I looked at the political establishment for most of my life from a nihilistic and anarchistic point of view. And I did not think that there was any hope there, and I didn't pay any attention to it at all. And Bernie Sanders was the one that got me interested. And then I went through all these people. I've tasted all of these different wines. And the wine that TYT is producing, the wine that the Majority Report is producing, the wine that Benjamin Dixon is producing, the wine that Matt Binder is producing, it is weak, and it is foul, and it fills you up with nothing, and it leaves you hungry. And the wine that Fred Hampton Leftists are producing, and the wine that Jimmy Dore are producing, it's rich and it's flavorful, and it's born of suffering. It's born of trial, and it's full of hope, and it's full of encouragement. They're saying, come in. They're saying, look, come into this lane. They're saying, come on, do it. Like I mentioned in the last stream, I got a DM from somebody on Twitter. Let me shout him out, because it's nice to see that it's not all for nothing. This is not this is not just to pump up my ego. That's not why I'm here for. It's not to make money, and you have to be like that, I think, because otherwise you're just going to become watered down again. Like, I don't want my perspectives to be watered down. I want to remain objective. If somebody, like, if you have your best friend and you know them your whole fucking life, and they're like a brother or a sister to you, and they fuck you over, like, I don't know, they steal your car or something, crash it into a tree, you're gonna be fucking mad at them about it, and you're gonna tell them about it. You'll be like, dude, why did you crash my car into a fucking tree? Like, so it's like your other friend comes up to you and says, like, no, don't tell them they crashed. I like them too. That's your friend. Don't tell them they crashed your car into a tree. Don't ask them why they crashed the car into a tree. Don't tell them about their drinking problem. Don't try to get them into NA. That's disruptive. That's violence. That's offensive. What the fuck? These people are, we put a lot of hope in them. We like these people. All of us like the OC. All of us like Nina Turner. We love Cori Bush. She voted against that Israel Dome bill. Good for her. Thanks for standing up. There's so many fucking people that didn't. But they had a chance, to push Nancy Pelosi around. She's a fucking monster. She's a monster. She's just constantly just gonna fucking sit there. Look at this bullshit. She's intimidating AOC, she's like screaming at her. Look at her. And AOC's like, I'm changing my vote, I'm changing my vote, I'm changing my vote. Don't hit me, Nancy. So listen, we can love AOC and we can hope for the best, and we can still criticize her for that shit. Like we could still criticize her for that shit. Let me read Thunga. So Thunga, you said uh let's see. I think they all have stuff they can be criticized for. I agree with Jimmy Dore on force the vote and attacking corporate Democrats and Zionists, but he has cultivated an audience of right wingers from his appearance on Fucker Carlson and his proclivity to only attack the Dems. But he doesn't usually attack the Republicans when they do more egregious things. I think that's that you can criticize him for that, and I think him going on Tucker, he talks about how he's trying to reach a wider audience, and I kind of think that we do. Like, we can't be so afraid of people that we fear, we or have completely different points of view from us. We kind of have to try and reach out to them. Like the whole Fred Hampton leftist idea is to do what Fred Hampton did. And Fred Hampton with the Black Panthers, they invited in a racist group of white kids and they converted them to their ideas and their ideology and they changed them from being racist and they fought alongside each other in violent struggles, in real life violent struggles. So even though I despise Tucker Carlson, when I listen to what Jimmy Dore says when he goes on that show and they give him like a shot clock, so he's got like 30 seconds to put in an anti-war message, and you have to think about like who is watching Fox News. Like these are old people that vote, and they're deeply racist, most of them, but some of them aren't. Maybe they just grew up in a family. I go to homes where Fox News is on. Sometimes I do like presentations for people for work, and um, the people that I'm talking to are not they're not beyond hope, and that's what like TYT and Majority Report, that's their bread and butter is and a lot of people, since Trump, the bread and butter of them is to get clickbait type of articles and followers from these really cheap and easy punching down type of tactics. um, Not everybody who votes Republican is a complete racist and completely lost, and some people will watch Tucker Carlson that can be convinced that they should be anti-war. And that's what Jimmy Dore does when he goes on Tucker Carlson. He screams against war because there is nowhere on that 24-hour broadcast where you're going to hear that kind of message. So while I view it as potentially being problematic, I still think there's a place for it. So let's see. So Thunga says, I question the percentage of Fucker Carlson's audience that doesn't have white identity politics as part of their core principles. They are zealous in their support for Republicans due to their support of white identity politics. That is true. But even if you can reach one or two people, it can be worth it. I mean, you have to, in order to create a movement that actually produces real change, I really do believe this, we have to see along class lines at a certain point. That doesn't mean we ignore implicit bias. That doesn't mean we stop fighting against racism in our society. It doesn't mean we welcome with open arms people that hold racist ideas. Let me play Nick Cruz from Fred Hampton Leftists because he can say this better than I can. So let me go ahead and just play the rest of his video, and we can see if you guys agree with him or not.
Some fancy university to speak true revolutionary politics. And I knew that firsthand because I went around talking to a lot of great people, and everybody that we have on Fred Hampton Leftists, I had on my previous show before. And I knew like these people have a lot of valuable insights. Like these people are teaching me a lot of stuff. But these people will never be platformed by a lot of these more popular people because these popular channels, they focus on, once again, just the big names, the Ivy educated people. So what I wanted to do, I want to have a true working class platform, and a platform that we can discuss issues from a Black leftist perspective, that we can speak about the issues from a perspective that you're not going to get from people who are in a privileged position. Once again, that's not me slighting any of these people because I like some of those people that I named off. But there's just a giant perspective gap that's not being covered. There's what's happening in the Black community is not being covered the way a lot of the Black leftists would love it to be covered. So we just want to fill that gap. And that's why I invited everyone that we have on Fred Hampton Leftists on. It started with a phone call, me, CJ, and Rome, and everyone that's part of Fred Hampton Leftists. We knew each other because we all been in left media spaces, left spaces in general, and we all knew we had something to offer. So we band together and we like, let's create this Black leftist network. And we chose the name Fred Hampton because I wrote in great detail about this, and this is something that if you talk to a lot of young Black leftists, they will agree with. We was really sold out by the boomer neoliberal class. Our revolutionary leaders was anti-capitalist. Malcolm X was anti-capitalist. MLK was anti-capitalist. Fred Hampton was a Marxist-Leninist. We went from that, and now we are ruled by an era of Black capitalists who do not represent us. So if you look at the Black people who do have a voice in our media spaces, you get the Joyanne Reeds, you get Dr. Jason Johnson, just to name a few. These are only the liberal capitalists, and they're the only people that are allowed to have mainstream voices. And the MLK era of Black economic politics was completely forgotten by the Black boomer class and young Black leftists who actually very curious about our revolutionary leaders. We want to bring that back. So when we call ourselves Fred Hampton Leftists, it's because we want to follow in that footstep.
All right, so let's see. Let's take a look. So what does Jimmy Dore do going on Tucker Carlson? I'm talking about in this stream that I want to remain objective, right? And, I have my point of view. Other people have their point of view. But the thing is, I'm not going to sink to the level of this guy. I'm not going to sink to the level of just criticizing people without any substance and without any context. And I'm also going to resist the urge to react in an extreme way to something that I feel is not the right way to do things, or something that's controversial, because Jimmy Dore going on Tucker Carlson can be seen as a controversial thing. So keep in mind, he only has a very short amount of time that he can speak on Tucker Carlson. But let's look at what he says when he goes on Tucker Carlson's show.
Peacock is streaming, and it's free.
Because I mentioned that Peacock supports TYT and Majority Report. I guess they're showing me their ads now. It's so fucking crazy. We live in 1984. It just took till 2000 to get here.
Conversation on the left revolves almost exclusively around identity, which is, in other words, me. Narcissism is about me. Yeah. But you kept talking about economics. That used to be the central conversation on the left, or in America, actually.
Yeah.
Why no more?
Because the establishment has learned how to co-opt identity politics to put the brakes on economic progress and justice. So the joke I do. So if you want to help, I would say if you want to help Black people, nothing would help them more than free college, student loan relief, and Medicare for all, and a living wage. You want to help them? That would be the way to help them. But Joe Biden comes in, does none of those things, but he makes Juneteenth a holiday. So do you understand what I'm talking about?
Oh, I do understand.
So it's all signals, but there's no substance. We're signaling that we want to help the minority community, but we're not actually helping them. So that's what identity politics is. It's a big diversion. And the joke I say, if it was 1860, the Democrats would be bragging about their first transgendered slave owner. And so what I'm trying to tell people is that when you vote for them, when you vote for somebody inside the Democratic Party, no matter what they say, no matter what they believe, they're going to go along with Nancy Pelosi. And Nancy Pelosi goes along with Goldman Sachs and Raytheon. So when you're voting for someone inside the Democratic Party, you're voting for Goldman Sachs and Raytheon because they are not standing up to those people. So the idea that we have progressives inside the Democratic Party, it's actually more deleterious to the progressive movement to have them there. Why is that, Jimmy? Because it gives people a false impression that there's somebody in government fighting for you, that there's one of the parties that are kind of on your side, and they aren't. And the quicker people realize that both parties are not on their side, they only serve the oligarchy. We are in fact in an oligarchy. Your democracy was stolen way before Trump. Until that happens, we won't ever have real change.
But what about Ocasio-Cortez? She's on Instagram.
Ocasio-Cortez campaigned on a floor vote on Medicare for all. And she campaigned on creating what she called a ruckus, meaning you have to stop being polite. This is a quote. You have to stop being polite. We tried being polite, and it got us nowhere. And it wasn't until we started acting out and speaking impolitely that we even created the circumstances for change. That's what she tweeted. So I'm just doing what she said. So I started to put heat on people like AOC and Rashid Tlaib and Ro Khanna and all the Justice Democrats in the squad to force the vote. And they said I was.
Yeah, I agree, Thunga, that Tucker is just having him on because he's going to shit on the Democrats. And I agree that Tucker's view on identity politics is definitely from a racist white right wing perspective. But you see in this, and this is one of the rare times where Jimmy was actually given a good amount of time to really make an argument and not just 30-second shot clock. So, in a weird way, I mean, it's very strange because we have to resist the urge to compromise when we get into the electoral system for sure. Jimmy's in the political punditry system, and he is doing some level of compromise by going on Tucker Carlson's show because now he's done enough of segments of shitting on Democrats that he gets a chance to get on there and do a little bit of a longer clip. And it's kind of a weird thing, it's like is the enemy of my enemy my friend? Of course, Tucker Carlson will never be our friend. I don't believe so. But at the same time, I just think we need to attack at all different angles. We need to use every tool in our toolkit to fight. And people like this guy, and I gotta I gotta wrap this up. It's been too long, and I really need to get back to my normal everyday life. But let's go ahead and finish Matt Binder because people like this is our enemy. This is our friend. Whether or not you agree he went on Tucker Carlson or not, if you listen to what he says, he is trying to produce some level of positive change. You can go on CNN, you can go on MSNBC, you can go on any major cable news network from a left perspective, and you can hear nothing but attacks on Republicans. That lane is full. There's plenty of people doing that. You can go anywhere and you can find it. It's what everyone clicks on. It's what everyone listens to. It's what everyone watches. The problem is that on our side, we look at people and we fight for them to get elected, and then we stay silent when they don't do the right thing. And that lane is very narrow, and there's very few people that are willing to step into it because you receive a lot of heat, and you lose friends that you used to consider very close. And it's a very difficult thing. It's a harsh waters to navigate, and I'm not saying that he always does it perfectly, and I'm not saying that there's not, you know, um, within him maybe a desire just to get onto a bigger platform and to speak his ideas, but him platforming people like the Fred Hampton Leftists, who are a real genuine grassroots organization, and they have no ties to any of these big media corporations. Um, he is trying to do something positive. You can't say that he's not. I even listen to like Glenn Greenwald when he goes on to Tucker Carlson's show, and even that I could be criticized for saying that. I see some positive things being done there, but it would take a lot more time to talk about this. Let me go ahead and wrap this segment up. I just need to play the rest of Matt Binder's clip.
Too, like bringing our troops home. Yet Joe Biden only did this last month. I mean, if you poll now, I would guarantee probably that there are other more pressing issues. Actually, I know people are gonna say, "Oh my God, I can't."
Bernie Sanders' whole campaign, 2016 and 2021, was completely built around universal health care, Medicare for all. That was the number one signature issue, and that was the biggest thing that mobilized people because that's something that touches home for every single person that's poor in this country, and even middle class people, even people that have gotten a little bit higher up that ladder. Um, Still, even if you have health insurance, it's very, very difficult to get good service, and you have to pay a lot of money for it. So him shitting on Medicare for all and kind of sneering at this idea that that's still something we should be fighting for is bullshit. That is something that mobilizes everybody. And if we want to change one thing, at least, we could potentially change something when it comes to Medicare for all. And that would require us to reach out to some people that we wouldn't normally talk to make it happen. Thunga RIP says, I just don't know how many people he's pulling from Carlson's audience to progressive ideals or pro BLM ideals. I doubt he can get away with saying something as simple as saying Black Lives Matter. Once Carlson's audience hears that, their identity politics triggers goes off. That's true, and it's the same on the opposite side. where even the name Tucker Carlson triggers people and turns them off. So we have to try and see through all the fog and all the inbred kind of fear of the other and propaganda that tells us to fight each other and to always disagree with someone just based off of a very base and very quick reactionary thing. You have to kind of dig a little bit deeper into these things and get past some of the difficulties. Now, I can't watch Tucker Carlson show. It triggers me. It turns me off. I can't watch Sean Hannity. It triggers me. It turns me off. Um, when I was locked up, when I was in jail, I only had an AM/FM radio, and I followed Bernie Sanders' first race. And it was just clear little radio, and I could get only AM/FM channels. And I flipped back and forth from NPR to all of the conservative channels, and I listened and I listened and I listened and I listened. Um, and I'm not going to say I support any right wing policies, but I do think that just not having access to enough information, whereas the only information I could get, I grabbed onto and I held onto, and I pulled the little tiny facts that I could out of all of the massive bullshit, and pieced together my own political ideology. Um, so there was some benefit in that to me, at least. Thunga RIP says the difference is BLM is virtuous. Tucker Carlson is an abominable racist who appeals to his racist and bigoted audience by telling them exactly what they want to hear, including disinformation and lies. I 100% agree with that. Let's play the rest of the clip because I know Finch Girl wanted to see Jimmy criticize Republicans, and I believe at one point he does say you should not vote either Democrat or Republican. There is a clip where he says that. I'd be more than happy to find it at a later date.
Committing violence against them with my words. That's how scared they got. Were you? That's how scared. You really telling them to do what they ran on? That's violence? That's how afraid they were. And all the hit pieces on me in the New York Magazine, shut me down and trend on Twitter. And they don't know what to do. They have Wikipedia, CNN, on just his garage. I did. And they're corrupt. And it's not because they take corporate career, right? Their own self-dealing.
Yeah.
So if I go along with the establishment, I'm going to get a book deal. I'm going to get speaking fees, and I'm going to be in Congress for at least 5 years, and then I get a pension for the rest of my life. That is corrupt, and that's why they're not pushing back. Because Nancy Pelosi could come in and crush you. Hey, we'll fund somebody in a primary to your left, just like she did to Joe Crowley, AOC, right? So that's what they're all afraid of. They're afraid of the power of the establishment taking away what little power and that they have in Congress.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
So we got a little bit off track there. And that's only a very, very small part of what Jimmy Dore does. So let's go ahead and finish this up because I got to get out of here.
I believe Matt just said that. But I'm sure that for people who are about to be evicted, the number one pressing issue is evictions, and their biggest support would go with the eviction moratorium. You know, people's priorities have changed a bit. Obviously, Medicare for all is still very important.
All right, guys. 100% do not support Tucker Carlson. And I don't think that's the way to get progressive change. Whatever Jimmy's reasons for going on Tucker, I don't know. I addressed that in the first video I did, and I actually that was on YouTube, and I did say that, like I'll say now. Nobody is perfect. No one person has all of the great ideas, and some of the worst people in society have great ideas, and some of the best people in society can have some very terrible ideas. And that's why we have to remain objective, and we have to fight against this current of propaganda that forces us to stick our fingers in our ears and go blah, 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 blah when we hear something that we don't like. Because there is a possibility And this is something that I want to fight for, and it's something I really believe in. It's something that the Movement for a People's Party believes in, and it's something that Jimmy Dore is fighting for in his own way, and it's something that the Fred Hampton leftists are fighting for in their own way. So, what the idea is to try to bring in people that are from different points of view, different places on the spectrum, but have similar class conditions. So someone that filled in for this guy, Keith Oberman. This is Sam Cedar that we're talking about. If you want to know about Sam Cedar, he was originally on MSNBC, still has an MSNBC contract. He was kicked off of MSNBC because he made a very vile comment about his daughter being raped by Roman Polanski. Where do I have that? So he said this. He deleted this tweet, but he said, "Don't care, Reed Polanski, but I hope if my daughter is ever raped, it is by an older, truly talented man with a great sense of mise en scene." So Sam Cedar is this sort of bourgeoisie liberal. He wanted to be a filmmaker so bad. All of the movies that he was a part of, I have not heard of any of them. He did a voice on Bob Burgers. That's the only thing that I know. But he is a bourgeoisie boutique leftist. And the same thing with Matt Binder. He just wants to suck up to him and be a part of his show. These people are on their way out because they are not representing any real change. They are only representing a class of punditry that acts as gatekeepers to real positive change. And that real positive change is going to require us to be uncomfortable. It's going to require us to talk to people that we disagree with and try to change their minds. You see Nick Cruz coming from a certain perspective because Nick Cruz was out there knocking on doors for Bernie. Nick Cruz was out there talking to people who had a Republican ideology. Nick Cruz had the opportunity to see firsthand in people that he talked to that they could change, that they hadn't heard some of these ideas. And just like Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers, um, bringing in people that were racist and converting them to his own point of view and finding advocates in the strangest of places. That's how wars are won. That's how revolutions are won. Um, so I wanted to get into this article, but we'll have to continue this on another stream because I'm going to have to end it now. So let's see. Thunga RIP says, let's see. I agree. I support Jimmy Dore when he's right, but I critique him when I think he's wrong. Same here. I believe he was right on the issue of forced to vote. Absolutely. And it was wrong for TYT to turn on him during that time. And remember who TYT is. So you have Sam Cedar revealing himself. These people are just, they're like the same type of character you would get in a person who wants to become an actor or a celebrity. Someone who's on MSNBC just as a talking head that reads the news. Those people are typically very lascivious and licentious. They're usually very egotistical and full of themselves, and they usually have a very warped and strange type of sexuality and power drive. You've seen the kind of results of these powerful people in the entertainment industry and what they do with their power in the world that they live in, and the sort of sickness that grows out of their egotistical drive for power and pleasure. And that is where Cenk Uygur, that is where Sam Cedar and the Young Turks, that's where they're coming from. And even Anna Kasparian, I mean, they ran those camel toe segments. She produced those camel toe segments on TYT. Their goal was to get clicks and to grow their network. Their goal was not to just support activists and produce positive change. Their goal was their own celebrity. So if you haven't seen those clips, I feel like I have to play them now because these people are going to say some things that you like. Like I think Thunga, you said like you listen to them. I used to listen to them too. Let's see, I watch Sam Cedar stuff sometimes. He made a bad joke, but I don't think he should be fired for that tweet. I don't think so either. And that's where we have to remain objective. But his content is producing these boutique leftists. It's producing these people that they're not supportive of forced to vote. They're not supportive of the Occupy Congress movement. They're not supportive of the End the Damn Wars movement. They're not supportive of the Movement for a People's Party. They're not supportive of a third party. That is where the energy is. That's where the momentum is. That's where the young people are. That's where the people that will fight are. Michael Brooks was probably the best part of that show, but I believe he even gets he gets sort of like martyred and romanticized a little bit. I didn't listen to too much Michael Brooks, but I feel like he was a little bit more. Michael Brooks was a little bit more rough around the edges than the other two. He was less of a sort of like sort of a entitled upper class wannabe kind of a person. So yeah, I liked listening to Michael Brooks more than anything else, and I used to even prefer Anna Kasparian to Cenk Uygur. Now I pay attention more to like Useful Idiots, Matt Taibbi, Katie Halper. I listen to Brianna Joy Gray. I listen to some of the Redacted Tonight stuff. I listen to Jimmy Dore, obviously. I listen to the Fred Hampton Leftists. I get on their Twitter chats and things like that. I mean, there is a movement that's growing, and anybody who's pouring cold water on it, anybody that's out there and that's just sort of snobbing in a sort of snobby way, like shitting on young activists and them getting out on the street and trying to do something, and sort of brushing them aside and saying, well, no, you're not doing this in the right way. You're not doing this according to the rules that we've set out because we are the gatekeepers. So we've built these organizations, we've built these platforms. You should listen to us and ignore everyone else. A lot of it also is twisted because they're worried about losing their viewership. They're worried about competition. If they're not willing to touch these difficult subjects, we're never going to see anything change. We're going to keep repeating the same cycles over and over again. People gave up on the political system when Obama, let them down. And then we got Trump, and Trump fired everybody up and made everybody, in this really vicious way, hate the other side, and it created this gigantic division in our country. So fuck Donald Trump for doing that. But at this time, we can either choose to remain divided and separate in all of our separate camps, or we can try to find some reconciliation with each other, and we can try to find a path forward. And that's the only way we're actually going to get any real change. So the people that are shitting on these positive actions that will cause real change in our society that could, at least we have to try them. Fuck them. TYT mass blocked all of the Fred Hampton leftist activists after they went on Jimmy Dore's show. Why did they do that? It's because they're afraid of competition. The Fred Hampton leftists are organizing a general strike, and they're trying to create a mutual aid organization to go along with it. This is the Fred Hampton leftist Twitter account, and there's a general strike summit November 12th to November 14th. It's a 3-day live streaming event where people are invited to share their ideas, and I encourage you all to be there. I will be there. Peace, not war. Have a good night, everybody.